Is Canada the dark horse of the World Cup? For decades, Canada was a nation that football fans rarely mentioned when discussing the world's biggest stage. The World Cup belonged to traditional giants. Countries like Brazil, Argentina, Germany, France, and Italy dominated the conversation, while emerging football nations fought for recognition. Canada, despite its passion for sports, was often viewed as an outsider in international football. But something has changed. Over the last few years, Canada has quietly transformed itself from an underdog into a serious competitor. What once seemed impossible is now becoming reality. The team is no longer satisfied with simply qualifying for major tournaments. They want to compete, they want to challenge the best, and most importantly, they want the football world to take them seriously. As this World Cup unfolds, a fascinating question is beginning to emerge among fans, analysts, and former players alike. Is Canada actually the dark horse of the tournament? The term dark horse is often used to describe a team that enters a competition without the spotlight, but possesses the ability to shock everyone. History is filled with examples. Croatia's remarkable run to the World Cup final in 2018 surprised many observers. Morocco's incredible journey to the semifinals in 2022 rewrote African football history. Every World Cup seems to produce one team that exceeds expectations and captures the imagination of fans around the globe. This year, Canada may be that team. What makes Canada's rise so intriguing is that it hasn't happened overnight. The foundation was built years ago through investment, patience, and a commitment to developing young talent. Instead of relying on aging veterans or short-term solutions, Canada focused on creating a generation capable of competing with the world's elite. The results are now visible. One of the biggest reasons behind Canada's emergence is the quality of its players. Gone are the days when Canadian football relied on a handful of recognizable names. Today's squad features athletes who play at the highest levels of European football. They compete weekly against world-class opposition and bring that experience back to the national team. At the center of this new era stands one of the most exciting footballers Canada has ever produced. His speed, technical ability, and attacking threat have made him a nightmare for defenders. Whether playing as a winger, fullback, or in a more advanced role, he possesses the kind of game-changing talent capable of deciding matches on his own. But this team is not built around one player. That is perhaps Canada's greatest strength. Many smaller football nations become overly dependent on a single superstar. When that player struggles, the entire team suffers. Canada appears different. Across the pitch, there is balance, there is depth, there is a growing sense of collective belief. In midfield, the team combines energy with discipline. Players work tirelessly both in possession and out of possession. They press aggressively when needed but remain organized defensively. This balance allows Canada to compete against stronger opponents without becoming overwhelmed. Defensively, the team has shown remarkable improvement. Earlier generations of Canadian football often struggled against elite attacks. Today, defenders are more composed, more experienced, and more comfortable playing under pressure. They understand modern football's tactical demands and are capable of adapting to different opponents. This flexibility is crucial in tournament football. A World Cup is unlike any other competition. Success isn't determined solely by talent. Teams must adapt quickly. They must recover from setbacks. They must find solutions to problems they have never encountered before. Canada has demonstrated exactly that. One of the most impressive aspects of their recent performances has been their mentality. There is a confidence within this squad that previous Canadian teams lacked. They no longer enter matches hoping to survive. They enter expecting to compete. That mindset can be incredibly dangerous for opponents. Football history teaches us that belief is often the difference between good teams and great tournament teams. Technical ability matters. Tactical preparation matters. But when players genuinely believe they belong among the world's best, extraordinary things can happen. Canada seems to have reached that stage. Their performances against stronger nations have revealed a team that refuses to be intimidated. Instead of sitting deep and accepting pressure, they are willing to attack. They are willing to take risks. They are willing to challenge football's established powers. That courage could become one of their greatest weapons. Many traditional giants face enormous pressure during a World Cup. Every match is scrutinized. Every mistake becomes a headline. Players carry the expectations of millions of supporters. For favorites, the fear of failure can sometimes be as powerful as the desire to succeed. Canada, on the other hand, operates with a different kind of freedom. The team is respected, but expectations remain relatively modest compared to the tournament favorites. This creates a unique advantage. Players can focus entirely on performance rather than external pressure. They can play with energy, enthusiasm, and fearlessness. For a dark horse, that combination is invaluable. However, becoming a true contender requires more than enthusiasm. It requires tactical intelligence. Canada's coaching staff deserves significant credit for the team's development. Modern football is increasingly decided by organization and preparation. The gap in talent between nations is often smaller than people imagine. Tactical details frequently determine the outcome of matches. Canada's coaches have created a system that maximizes the strengths of their players while minimizing weaknesses. The team transitions quickly from defense to attack. It uses pace effectively in wide areas. It remains compact without the ball and dangerous when opportunities arise. These qualities make Canada difficult to predict. Opponents cannot simply prepare for one style of play. Canada can absorb pressure when necessary. They can counterattack at speed. They can maintain possession. They can adapt based on the situation. In tournament football, versatility is a major asset. Another factor working in Canada's favor is momentum. Momentum is one of the most mysterious forces in sports. It cannot be measured on a statistics sheet, yet its impact is undeniable. Teams that gain confidence through positive results often exceed expectations. Victories create belief. Belief creates momentum. Momentum creates opportunities. Canada appears to be riding exactly that wave. Every successful performance strengthens the conviction within the squad. Every competitive display against stronger opponents reinforces the idea that they belong on this stage. Yet despite all the optimism, challenges remain. The World Cup is unforgiving. A single mistake can end months of preparation. One poor performance can erase years of progress. Every opponent is dangerous. Every match demands maximum concentration. Canada's players understand this reality. While supporters may dream of a historic run, the squad itself knows that potential means nothing without execution. Talent opens doors, but discipline determines how far a team can go. The biggest test may come when expectations begin to rise. Underdogs enjoy a certain advantage because they operate outside the spotlight, but as success grows, attention increases. Opponents prepare more carefully. Media scrutiny intensifies. Pressure becomes unavoidable. How Canada responds to that challenge could define their tournament. Can they remain calm when the football world starts believing in them? Can they maintain their identity against elite opposition? Can they continue playing with the same confidence that fueled their rise? These questions remain unanswered. What is clear, however, is that Canada is no longer simply participating in the World Cup. They are competing. They are challenging perceptions. They are proving that football's traditional hierarchy is not as fixed as many once believed. Perhaps that is what makes their story so compelling. The World Cup has always celebrated the unexpected. It rewards courage. It rewards belief. It rewards teams willing to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. Canada embodies those qualities. Whether they ultimately reach the quarterfinals, semifinals, or even further remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, opponents can no longer afford to overlook them. The football world is beginning to recognize something that Canadian supporters have sensed for years. This team is different. This team is ambitious. And this team may just possess all the ingredients required to become the tournament's most dangerous dark horse. The true measure of a dark horse is not how exciting they look on paper. It is how they respond when the tournament reaches its most demanding moments. Anyone can impress in isolated matches. Anyone can produce a memorable performance when the pressure is low. But when expectations rise, when every touch matters, and when the entire football world is watching, only the strongest teams continue moving forward. This is where Canada's story becomes even more fascinating. As the competition progresses, the margins between victory and defeat become incredibly small. A missed chance, a defensive lapse, or a moment of hesitation can change everything. The teams that survive are often those capable of remaining composed when chaos surrounds them. Canada's recent evolution suggests they may possess exactly that quality. One of the defining characteristics of successful tournament teams is resilience. They rarely dominate every match. They rarely enjoy perfect conditions. Instead, they find ways to overcome adversity. They adapt, they recover, they continue fighting even when circumstances become difficult. Canada has repeatedly shown signs of this mentality. There have been matches where they started slowly yet found a way back into the game. There have been moments when opponents controlled possession, but Canada remained disciplined and waited patiently for opportunities. There have been situations where the pressure mounted, yet the players refused to panic. Those experiences matter. World Cups are often decided not by the strongest teams, but by the teams that handle difficult moments most effectively. Consider some of the greatest surprises in football history. They did not succeed because they were flawless. They succeeded because they believed in themselves when nobody else did. They trusted their system. They trusted their teammates. And they refused to accept defeat before the final whistle. Canada appears to be building a similar identity. Another reason many analysts have started taking Canada seriously is the balance within the squad. Modern football is no longer about collecting individual stars and hoping talent solves every problem. The most successful teams are usually those with clearly defined roles. Every player understands their responsibility. Canada's attackers know when to press and when to conserve energy. Midfielders understand how to control space and maintain structure. Defenders communicate effectively and work together as a unit. Even players coming off the bench contribute to the overall strategy. That collective understanding creates consistency. When a team depends too heavily on one or two individuals, opponents can focus on neutralizing those threats. But when danger comes from multiple areas of the pitch, preparation becomes much more difficult. Canada's versatility forces opponents to make uncomfortable decisions. Do they commit players forward and risk being punished on the counterattack? Do they sit deeper and allow Canada to build confidence in possession? Do they focus on stopping the wide players while leaving space through the middle? Every tactical decision carries consequences. This unpredictability is one of the reasons dark horses become so dangerous during major tournaments. Established powers often have well-known strengths and weaknesses. Opponents spend years studying them. Canada, however, remains relatively unfamiliar to many international teams. That element of uncertainty can be powerful. Beyond tactics and technical ability, there is another factor that cannot be ignored: hunger. Some of the world's traditional football powers have generations of players who grow up expecting World Cup appearances. Success is often viewed as a requirement rather than an achievement. Canada's players come from a different reality. Many of them grew up watching international tournaments without seeing their country among the favorites. They understand how difficult it is to earn global respect. They understand how much effort was required to bring Canadian football to this level. As a result, there is often an extra layer of motivation. Every match represents an opportunity to prove something. Every victory strengthens the reputation of Canadian football. Every strong performance challenges old assumptions. That hunger can provide a significant psychological advantage. When players feel they are part of something bigger than themselves, they often find an extra level of determination. Fatigue becomes easier to manage. Sacrifices become easier to make. Difficult moments become easier to overcome. Canada's squad appears united by that shared purpose. The supporters have also played an important role in this transformation. Football nations are built not only by players and coaches, but by fans. The connection between a team and its supporters can create extraordinary energy. When players feel an entire country believes in them, confidence grows. Across Canada, enthusiasm for football has reached levels that would have seemed unimaginable a generation ago. Young players now have role models. Youth participation continues to increase. Professional pathways are improving. Infrastructure is developing. The national team's success is inspiring a new generation. This creates a powerful cycle. Success attracts interest. Interest attracts investment. Investment develops talent. And talent leads to further success. Canada may be benefiting from the early stages of that process right now. Of course, becoming a genuine World Cup contender requires overcoming elite opposition. Eventually, every surprise team encounters a football giant. A moment arrives when potential must be converted into results against the very best. That challenge cannot be avoided. Whether the opponent is a European powerhouse, a South American giant, or a defending champion, Canada will eventually face a team filled with world-class players. When that moment comes, fear will be the enemy. The most dangerous thing an underdog can do is abandon the approach that brought them success in the first place. Teams often become overly cautious against famous opponents. They stop taking risks. They stop expressing themselves. They begin respecting the opponent too much. If Canada wants to continue its rise, it must avoid that trap. The qualities that made them successful, speed, confidence, organization, and courage, must remain intact regardless of the opponent standing across the pitch. History provides plenty of encouragement. Every great World Cup story began with a team willing to challenge conventional wisdom. Few people predicted Croatia's run to the final. Few expected Morocco to reach the semifinals. Even some past champions entered tournaments without widespread support. Football rewards belief. The teams that achieve the impossible are often those that ignore limitations imposed by others. Canada's players seem determined to do exactly that. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of their development is that it feels sustainable. This does not look like a one-time golden generation destined to disappear after a single tournament. The structures supporting Canadian football continue to improve. Young talents continue to emerge. Experience continues to accumulate. That should concern rival nations, because even if Canada does not win this World Cup, they may be laying the foundation for future success. The lessons learned during this tournament could become invaluable. Every high-pressure match provides education. Every challenge creates growth. Every achievement raises standards. Great football nations are not built in a single year. They are built through repeated experiences on the world's biggest stages. Canada is gaining those experiences now. As the tournament unfolds, the spotlight will continue growing brighter. Commentators will analyze every performance. Opponents will devote greater attention to preparation. Expectations will increase with each positive result. The question is no longer whether Canada belongs at the World Cup. That question has already been answered. The real question is how far they can go. Can they reach the latter stages of the competition? Can they defeat teams with greater historical success? Can they produce one of the most memorable World Cup stories in modern football? Nobody knows for certain. That uncertainty is precisely what makes football so captivating. Before every tournament begins, predictions dominate headlines. Experts debate favorites. Statistical models estimate probabilities. Supporters dream about glory. Yet the World Cup always finds a way to surprise us. Some teams collapse under pressure. Others rise beyond imagination. Canada appears determined to belong to the second category. They have the talent to compete. They have the organization to challenge stronger opponents. They have the confidence to embrace the occasion. Most importantly, they possess something every dangerous dark horse needs: belief. Belief that they can stand toe-to-toe with football's elite. Belief that their journey is only beginning. Belief that history can be rewritten. Whether that belief ultimately carries them to an unforgettable tournament run remains uncertain. But one thing has become increasingly clear as the world watches this Canadian side. They are no longer outsiders hoping for respect. They are contenders demanding it. And if the giants of world football are not careful, Canada may transform from the World Cup's dark horse into its biggest story.